Yeah. I love my HBCU. And boy, I love it, love it. I love it, love it. I love my HBCU. And man, I hope my team they won. Yeah. I hope my team they won. Yeah. Man, I hope my team they won. I hope my team they won. Yeah. I tune into the HBCU Sports Lab to see if my team won or lost. If they lost, I'm quiet as a mouse. But if they won, keep tab. I'ma do the dab, yeah. Dr. Cavil, he know what he be talking about. Mike and Charles, they know what they be talking about. They compress the analytic data with this hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they won or lost, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention.
This is Dr. Cavil with Inside HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington, Charles Bishop. Welcome, fellas. How we doing?
It has been a great day, Dr. Cavil. Awesome.
All good, Doc. CB, Charles.
Well, we have a visiting professor on the day, Charles Edmond. Tall man radio, as they say in a lot of places. Radio extraordinaire is what we say over here. He gets it done. How you doing, Charles?
Good evening. It is a pleasure. It is an honor to be a part of the lab tonight.
Oh, man, it's great to have you. We're going to go into it. Welcome to episode 204 of Inside the HBCU Sports Lab Radio Show podcast, the show that's covering the sporting HBCU dash for all things HBCU sports from institutions, large and small, from NEIA to the NCAA. We share insights and information on the HBCU sports culture and HBCU athletic aesthetics to facilitate the story of HBCU athletic programs and the business of HBCU sports. I'm your host, Dr. Kenyatta Cavil, along with my co-host, Mike Washington, Charles Bishop. We're filming from our home studios and sending a signal live KCOH 1230 AM studios with the Texas Radio Hall of Famer, Ralph Cooper, in the beautiful home of Texas Southern University from Houston, Texas. With that being said, today's episode of Inside the HBCU Sports Lab is sponsored by THG Agency. THG Agency is a company that provides sporting and educational consulting and data analytics. Professor Bishop, I think we'll give you the luxury. I think just a little bit of news out there. Do you want to share anything with the listeners out there other than maybe just relax?
I would probably say relax. But why not? Let's attack it. Let's jump right into the mix there.
You gonna put everybody on the aid?
Yeah, why not?
RELAX, relax.
I'm gonna turn into Aaron Rodgers on this. RELAX, relax. But per HBCU game day, Deion Sanders.
Well, at least you ain't doing the other part when you're gonna talk. At least you're not doing the other part of Rodgers.
Yeah,
telling folks that yes, maybe.
Yeah, right.
I'm inoculated. What you
Exactly. But HBCU game day, Deion Sanders in the mix for the TCU job. Per report, Jack State head coach Deion Sanders is reportedly in the mix for the job opening at TCU. So that was, I think, reported by the Fort Worth newspaper today and picked up by HBCU game day. But Fort Worth Star Telegram is saying Coach Prime is in the mix for the TCU job.
People say you holding out, Charles. Roosevelt Sugden said you part of the team. You probably were in there in the interviews. You might have been giving them secret messages or telling them wrong answers. They say you know more than what you know.
I might be the back channel.
Yeah, look, man, don't answer that.
I know, right? Yeah, man.
But all seriousness, Mike, what are your thoughts on this?
RELAX, relax. So we don't know who he's talking to. Let's step off the edge, step away. We're still in 2021, the season. Relax, folks. All right, take a chill pill, drink coffee, whatever it is. Just relax. I'm sure he may have interviewed, maybe he didn't. So let's just let it happen. Let it flow out. We still got the SWAC championship and the Celebration Bowl. Let's let that thing work itself out at the end of the season. That's what I think about it. So
Relax. I like this. Well, let's go to the visiting Professor Edmond. What are your thoughts? Is this a bunch of nothingness, or are you like, hey, man?
You know, a former athletic director once told me when you have a good coach and a good program, somebody's going to come after that coach and or assistant coaches. It's, you know, Deion Sanders and staff hasn't been on the job a year yet, calendar-wise. You see what he has done with the program when he took it over to where he is right now. Am I surprised that it's happening right now? Yes. If this had been at the end of the season or in another month, no. You know, clearly people see what he's doing. People see what he has done. And clearly he could be a good fit somewhere. Do I think he's going anywhere right now? No, I don't. But money talks. TCU has state-of-the-art facilities. They're a private school. They can pay him whatever he wants. So, you know, there's a factor in there as well. But, you know, do I see him going anywhere right now? No, I don't. At the end of the season, depending on how Jackson State does, and that conversation, I think, will get a little more serious.
Yes.
Yeah, so I dug in a little bit about this. Go ahead, Mike, before you.
Yeah, I think we have to remember that Florida State reached out to him earlier. Shedeur Sanders is still a quarterback. He got another son playing on the defense. I mean, we could take this thing and piecemeal it 50 different ways past Sunday. Yes, he's going to be a candidate, but we would be remiss if we dive into it too deeply at this point in the season. As you said, Charles, he's a year in, really. Yeah, I don't think he's completed a full year. Let's relax. Let's see what happens. If it happens, it happens. But coaches that have this much success early in their career are always going to be candidates. You can't get around it. So relax.
Yeah, there's two things that I point out here. Is I dug in a little bit because, you know, I like to see where the weeds are going. And one of the issues I heard very early on is that they were sending smoke screens because there's a coach at SMU, Dykes, that has a relationship with Texas Tech from his father. And a lot of folks at TCU was trying to do basically a smoke screen because they wanted Dykes. And they were scared that Texas Tech was going out there, which is one of the reasons they did Patterson like he did, which most folks in a lot of areas were furious, but they were scared that maybe they couldn't get him. And then you saw Texas Tech make their move where they did their own smoke screen and showed that they really didn't want Dykes because Dykes people were putting the information out that they did. They went in total direction and went with Baylor, the vice president. So that changed a lot of things. So a lot of interesting components of what's going on there. But I think at the end of the day, there's one thing that I will always put on the bottom line. We still live in America, and I know this is a subject that most people don't want to talk about, but we do rarely see African Americans or blacks get a head football coaching job in the South. And you're talking somebody, yes, he has the icon this, but when is the last time you've seen the icon get a coaching job in the South, even non-African American, if you would, a European American white? It just doesn't happen. It's a pure unicorn. So to get this excited about that, to me, sounds good. And I'll believe it when I see it, just because I don't believe in the changing of the guard in this country as much as some people do. I love for it to happen in regards to where there is actually actionable change taking place. And I hope it happens more often because it does need to have people that look like me have opportunities at institutions like what I refer to as historically white colleges and their athletic programs. But I'm not scared to say it, and it's real when it doesn't happen. And so unlike many people, I'm not going to tap dance around it. With that, we do have some somber news that we need to get out and play our accolades to those. Norfolk State, MEAC mourned the loss of longtime announcer Jackie Brown. This came from MEAC Sports. Norfolk State Department of Athletics and the MEAC are mourning the loss of longtime Spartan public address announcer Jackie Brown, 71, who passed away Tuesday, November 2nd. With that, he was one that held the microphone at Spartan basketball and football games for decades, and obviously he's beloved by many. So I certainly wanted to take a moment of pause to honor what he has done for Norfolk State, the MEAC, and HBCUs all over.
Man.
With that, I'm going to go back to you, Mike, Professor Washington, on some other championship news. What do you have for us on that front? Since we are chasing championship football, we got a couple of games before they play out, and we'll get into that the second half of the show, as we got Charles to be able to dip in, and we're going to actually ask him to dub down, give us a couple of mixtures, you know, a couple of rivalry games going on, so we can get into his thoughts on several of those things and maybe ask him to dig a little further. You know, usually this next game, we're going to do that and then some. So we'll take that dive. But what do you have for us, Professor Washington?
You remember when I first met you in 1989?
I'm scared to answer this question, but yes, I believe so.
You had dreads. You were a soccer player, and I was like, man, you a Negro playing soccer? I thought I was bad playing baseball. So speaking of soccer, the Lady Panthers edged out the Grambling State Lady Tigers 3-2 in a shootout victory on Sunday to claim the second SWAC championship title in 3, not 1, not 2, but 3 years. Congratulations to my Ladies Panthers from the Prairie View A&M University. So a lot happened with that game. After not allowing a goal in the first 2 games of the SWAC tournament, the Panthers were unable to stop Elizabeth Guerrero free kick to make it 1-0 in the 21st minute. Following the score, both teams clamped down. It was a defensive struggle, y'all. It was a chippy battle. They saw yellow card after yellow card issued for the remainder of the first half. It was a great game. I caught it in and out. I think Doc was able to catch more of it than I was. So 20 minutes in the second half, it was a pivotal point. Grambling State handball had a handball in their own penalty box, which resulted in a penalty kick by Sonia Nugent. The first team all-SWAC defender proved up to the task, striking the ball in the right-hand corner of the goal, tying the game 1-1. Both teams went scoreless, scoreless, going back-to-back. So when the Lady Tigers missing out on the first penalty kick, the Lady Panthers struck first with a kick from Miss Nugent to give them the early 1-0 advantage. It went back and forth for the sake of time. Let's just say that the Panthers came out and all the penalty kicks and the saves, 3-2. Congratulations to my Lady Panthers from the Prairie View A&M University. Did I say it again? Can I say it one more time? Second SWAC championship in 3 years. We got golf. We got soccer. What's next? If you bring the cross there, I think we'll claim that too.
There you go. Congratulations, Lady Panthers. Nice job. Nice job.
Yeah, man. It was exciting to see once she buried that last goal kick, penalty kick, as she had the opportunity at 5th one. Top right corner above the goalie. Goalie couldn't do anything about it. They rushed the field and fans. It was a beautiful sight to see what was going on with a lot of spirit. So it was pretty awesome. Oddly enough, check this out before I go back to you, Charles, for the next news that you speak of. Oddly enough, guess who Prairie View women will face in the NCAA tournament? They faced the number 4. Who?
TCU Horned Frogs.
Yes, TCU Horned Frogs.
they just in the news today, huh?
Yeah, they just say it just happens to find a way to the HBCU forefront. Yes. So yeah, that game is on Friday, November the 12th at 7 p.m. as the Lady Panthers travel to Garvey Rosenthal Soccer Stadium in Fort Worth, Texas. So should be an interesting matchup. TCU comes in 17-2-2 out of the Big 12, defeating Texas 2-1 in their Big 12 tournament champions. Horned Frogs also won the regular season title with a record of 7-1 mark in conference play. So formidable foe, like I said, number 4 in the country, or at least in the tournament rankings. So top 10 in the country. So it should be an interesting battle with the Lady Panthers, the best, as they move forward. With that being said, let me go to you, Charles, for some additional news. What else do you have for us? And that's, I know we have 2 Charles on here, so I'll say it, Professor Bishop.
Sure thing. Let's take a look at the SWAC Football Weekly Honors. This comes from SWAC.org. The SWAC is named Alabama A&M's D. Anderson, Arkansas Pine Bluffs, Skylar Perry, and Andre Fuller, and Florida A&M's Jose Romo Martinez, along with Jackson State Shedeur Sanders as his SWAC football players of the week. Let's take a look at them. Co-offensive players of the week. D. Anderson, he hauled in 7 receptions for 122 yards and 3 touchdowns in Alabama A&M's 42-14 win over Mississippi Valley. Currently leads the SWAC with a total of 11 touchdowns. Co-offensive player of the week, Skylar Perry, played a significant role in helping the Golden Lions capture their first conference victory over Grambling. He completed 11 passes, 163 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Also huge on the ground, 146 yards rushing and 2 rushing touchdowns, 300 yards total offense for Skylar Perry, leading them to victory. Defensively, Andre Fuller intercepted the pass for the Golden Lions at the 4-yard line and returned it 95 yards to the Grambling 1-yard line. Nice job. Fuller contributed 8 pass breakups.
On the one. No,
Exactly, on the one. You got to get all the way in there. 5 solo tackles and a 5-yard sack. Romo Martinez had a perfect night kicking the ball, going 3 for 3 on field goals and 2 for 2 on extra points as he helped the Rattlers in a big victory over Southern on the Bluff. He also handled kickoff duties, averaging 61 yards per kick and 4 punts for 160 yards. And the newcomer of the week, Shedeur Sanders, 25-41, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions in Jackson State's 41-21 win over Texas Southern. He's thrown 23 touchdown passes thus far in the season, moving him into 8th place for touchdown passes in the season for Jackson State, currently completing 67% of his passes, which ranks first in the Southwestern Athletic Conference. Those are your SWAC players of the week.
Great job. Great job. Let me jump on the MEAC honors, make sure they're not left out. You have, before we go to this break, Norfolk State running back J.J. Davis was named the MEAC Offensive Player of the Week, as well as Rookie of the Week. North Carolina Central linebacker Noah Rainbow Douglas, South Carolina State defensive lineman Patrick Gobalt were named co-defensive players of the week. Norfolk State's Justin Reed was named Offensive Lineman of the Week. Earning Specialist of the Week honors was South Carolina State's Gavin Zimmerman. Just to round it out, let me give some shout outs to the lab listeners. We have Willie Alex Hine jumping in here. He says it as I see it. The real people that hire coaches in college are the money boosters, no doubt about it. Odell Benders. Philip says PV got going.
That's cold. That's cold. That's cold. That's cold.
It's funky town, as they say, Cowtown. G Boom Holly says, check out my photos out. He has some nice ones. You can go to his Twitter site. I'm sure he'll post it on here. Christopher White is in here checking us out. Reggie Thomas, Noel Price, Wild, Mayor Will, Marcelin is on. Fred Whitted, Karen Griffin, as always. Ron Alvarez, to name a few. Lonnie Shaw is in the house. Chuck Hunt, Eric Evans. Just to name a couple of folks jumping the hole. Tobias is on here as well. This is Dr. Ville inside the HBCU Sports Lab with none other than Mike Washington, Charles Bishop, and Charles Edmond as a visiting professor. We'll be right back so we can see what he thinks of my poll rankings. See if to make sure he gets an invite back. We'll see what he has to say. Stick with us. We'll be right back after this break.
It's never too early to plant the seed, to share the tradition, and instill a sense of pride in your HBCU with your little ones. HBCU Pride and Joy Children's Boutique helps you share your school spirit with a wide selection of adorable kids apparel and accessories officially licensed from your favorite HBCU. Visit hbcupridejoy.com and follow us on all social media at HBCU Pride Joy on Facebook and Twitter.
This is Carlos Brown, letting you know that we're on the move. You can now catch the Carlos Brown Show beginning this July on the Black College Sports Network each and every Saturday from 11 to 1 Eastern Time. That's 10 to 12 Central Time. Same time, new place. On Facebook at the Carlos Brown Show and Black College Sports Network. Online at www.mybcsn.net and on the BCSN app available on Google Play and the Apple App Store.
For 200 years, Montgomery, Alabama has been making history by people who had the courage to stand up for change. Today, this riverfront city has been reborn, embracing the past and looking forward to the future. From the National Memorial for Peace and Justice to the stage of the Alabama Shakespeare Festival. This is where history was and is made. We are proud to call Montgomery home, and together we can be the change.
Sugar Chateau Desserts is a specialty bakery located in the Charlotte, North Carolina metro area. We will create delicious and one-of-a-kind treats for any occasion. Sugar Chateau is currently shipping cakes in a jar, offering a variety of different flavors in a single-serve container that can help you celebrate in accordance with social distancing. Place your orders today by calling 803-526-7895 or visiting sugarchateaudesserts.com.
Are you hungry for authentic Caribbean food? Like jerk chicken, oxtail, red snapper, shrimp, tofu, and rasta pasta? Well, find your way over to Mango's Caribbean Restaurant, 180 Auburn Avenue, right next to Royal Peacock in downtown Atlanta.
Them belly full, but we hungry.
Mango's Caribbean Restaurant, open daily from 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. And on Friday and Saturday, we're open till 4 a.m. Come to Mango's and put some spice in your life.
So we've got a good thing going.
Mango's Caribbean Restaurant, 180 Auburn Avenue, right next to Royal Peacock in downtown Atlanta. For more info or directions, call 404-698-3992 or log on to mangoscaribbeanrestaurant.com. For instant coupons, text MANGOS to 313131.
Tell your mama hungry, papa hungry, brother hungry.
Mango's Caribbean Restaurant, authentic Caribbean cuisines.
Open up the door, tell them mama hungry.
Press the analytic data with your hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they wanna lose, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles. We're back to give you some more. Reggie Thomas, he says, rallies to the FCA playoffs. Let's go. Yeah, let's start talking it out there. Let's get it out there. I don't know if he's pushing the rallies or he's making sure that Jackson State is in the championship game. I like it either way. With that being said, receiving votes this week as we look in the Dawsonville's 2021 HBCU mid-major division for week number 10. Receiving votes is Benedict Tigers 5-5, 2-4. Bluefield State also receiving votes at 3-3, 6-5 respectively. But let's get in the top 10. As you see, Lane Dragons, they dropped 3 spots after a tough loss. They're 6-4 and 3-3 as it looks like they'll finish up the season. We'll see affirmative after this week when the NCAA Division II playoffs are announced. At number 9, you have Shaw Bears that sit at 6-4-5 and 19 points. They also fall 3 spots. However, you have number 8, Kentucky State Thoroughbreds, 6-4, 4-2. They had a big win, so they move up 2 spots with 22 points. It wasn't enough because Miles Golden Bears gets in there. But before you get to Miles Golden Bears, you have number 7, Virginia Union Panthers, 6-4, 5-2, 31 points, moving up a spot after their big win over their rival Virginia State. Bringing us to number 6, and the bottom 5 of the top 10 is Miles Golden Bears, 6-4, 4-2, 54 points, moving up 3 spots from number 9 next week with a total beatdown, shutout of Tuskegee Golden Tigers. That was a tough one if you're a Golden Tigers fan. But with that being said, it was interesting. I got a notification that they posted the athletic director job. So that is interesting. As you know, the head coach had previously held both the head coaching and AD job. Looks like there's a switch coming from that. Let's get back to the polls in terms of the top 5 teams. At number 5, you have the Langston Lions. After their second consecutive loss, 7-2, 6-2, they've hit the skids in the wrong direction. 73 points. They do just drop 1 poll position. At number 4, you have Savannah State Tigers, 8-2, 5-1, 76 points. At number 5, they move up a spot. They are in the top 10 of the regional rankings, but I'm not sure if it'll be enough as they do not play this week. They're at number 8. They need to try to get in number 6, just on the outside looking in, it looks like. At number 3, Fayetteville State Broncos, 8-1, 7-0, 78 points. Remain at number 3. Continue to get it done. They had a big win as they set up the fact that they will meet the number 1 team, as number 2 is Albany State Golden Rams, 9-1, 6-0, 3 first place votes, 81 points. Remain at number 2, setting up that matchup against Miles and Bears. 3rd time in 4 years, because we didn't have a game last 3 straight times. You will have Albany State facing Miles Golden Bears, similar in the CIAA. as you have the number 1 state Bulldogs at 9-1-7-0, 7 first place votes, 94 points. They remain at number 1. They will have a matchup with Fayetteville State for the 3rd time in 4 years, 3rd time in a row as well. Should be fascinating there. I'm going to let the guest start us off. Charles Edmond, Professor Edmond, what do you think of the mid-major top 10 poll ranking in week number 10?
I do not have an issue with that at all. You know, I've been following some of these teams throughout the course.
Smart man. He will be back.
Yes. You know, for all the talk of the SWAC and the MEAC, I mean, you do want to give these other schools, these other HBCUs and these other conferences the love as well. I don't have an issue with the poll at all. I've been following Langston for a long time. Kentucky State's always been kind of a quiet team that just seems to pile up wins. And at the top, Fayetteville, Albany State. I don't have an issue with the poll at all. It's a good job by the pollsters.
Shout out to Eric Evans. He says he has a problem. Albany State should be number 1, as he declares. I wonder if he happens to be a Golden Rams fan. Maybe so, but I certainly understand. And he may have a point. Let me see what Professor Washington says. It would be so beautiful, though, in the playoffs if we get to that regional championship, if it happens to be a face-off of the SIAC champion, Albany Golden Rams, Albany State versus Bowie State and the Bulldogs. It could happen. But before that, just first, Mike, tell me, what do you think on the polls, Professor Washington?
Actually, not much of an issue, but I hesitate to say not much. I think Albany State, you can make the case that they are number 1. They have put up some impressive wins. I have no problems with Bowie State. Again, I was the main one saying when they lost at the beginning of the year, RELAX, relax, because people were on the cliff. You did. But I have been an Albany. Let me make sure, because my wife from Georgia, she's like, say it right. So you can make the case that Albany State, where they playing, number 1 in defense, number 2 in offense. Their defense is strong. You could make the case that they can be arguably number 1. I hate to say it, Fayetteville Broncos, really good, but you're here in the same slot again. Year 3, year 4, you're winning that side of the division. But when you face up against somebody else, you know what's gonna happen. What's gonna be the outcome? Will it be the definition of is it gonna be the definition of insanity? You know, the same thing over and over again. So congratulations to Fayetteville State. But if they go against Bowie State, you gotta favor Bowie State. They're just playing really well now. They're on all pistons. They're playing Bowie State football. They have thoroughly reloaded. So yeah, and here it is. You know, if you look at margin of victory as an indication, their margin of victory for their last 3 or 4 games has been, 12 points. They beat Winston-Salem by 7. They have an impressive win against Livingstone. But here you are, Fayetteville State. You win that part of the division, but here you are in the championship. Are you going to toss up another L? I can't say it any other way.
Mm-hmm.
Well, before I go to you, Charles, Mike didn't have much to say. He said about the poll, but then he said a whole bunch. But with that being said, I love it. I like what Chad Cooper says. He's one of those lab listeners out there that gets it right. He said, great poll. Yeah, Bill Russell out here talking about the Miles Golden Bears Nation is in the lab tonight. T. Foster says, good job by the poster. See. Eric Evans says, say no more. I think he agrees with Mike Washington, Professor Washington. Could Fayetteville State upset Bowie? He said no. But let me go to Charles and see what he thinks.
Yeah, I think the more things change, the more they stay the same. Bowie State and Fayetteville State meet for a championship. Although we've seen some upsets this season, I don't think that'll be one of them. Bowie State, impressive. A statement victory over Elizabeth City this past weekend. Albany State, same thing. Another statement win. And shout out to Albany State. to play through the tragedy that they played with and losing a member of their football team, Adonis Butler. I want to make sure I say his name, young man who passed away November 1st last week.
Good point.
And for this
Absolutely.
team to go out and put up the number of points as his jersey number, impressive.
Right.
You know, that was wild. That was out of all the things I saw this weekend, that stood out to me more than anything. The Albany State pitched a shutout, their 5th shutout of the season, if I'm not mistaken. But to put up his jersey number, I'm sure that was such an emotional game for all involved with that. But I'm hearing the argument with Albany State in the mix for number 1. I think they have more shutouts than any HBCU team this season.
Yep.
Man, great points, and I'm so glad you pulled that out of there. We're going to save it. We're going to go in this break. We'll tease it out a little bit. We'll be back with the major division poll. We'll speak into the third quarter, then we'll get into some matchups. But stick with us. We'll be right back after this quick break, and we'll get into halftime as we'll come back into the third quarter. Great comments. Keep them coming. This is Dr. Cavil's Inside HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington, Charles Bishop, and Charles Edmond. Stick with us. We'll be right back after this quick break.
This is Brian Fulford. AD Drew and I are co-hosts of the BCSN Sports Lab. We talk about all things related to HBCU athletics. From the games, teams, coaches, and fan interest stories, we cover it all. You can find our shows on Facebook at BCSN Sports Lab, YouTube at MyJBN Online, and everywhere you listen to podcasts like Anchor, Spotify, Google, and Apple Podcasts. You can also find the show on the Jericho Broadcast Network's app. Make sure to download. We look forward to you joining the conversation and being a part of the show.
Since 2002, Empowerment Resources, Inc., a nonprofit organization, has empowered more than 1,500 youth and adults in Duval and surrounding counties through its programs Journey into Womanhood, Girls Mentoring, Life Skills for Teens, and parenting education coaching. To get involved with programs, volunteer, or donate, visit www.empowermentresourcesinc.org. Follow us on social media, facebook.com/empowerment.resources and instagram.com/empowermentjax.
Shop Velvet Online Women's Boutique to spice up your closet with trendy, unique looks. We have fashionable and chic looks at very affordable prices. Velvet Boutique offers free shipping all year long on all orders. Shop online at www.melvetboutique.com. That's www.melvetboutique.com. Like us on Facebook and follow us on Instagram. Shop Velvet Online Women's Boutique.
Press the analytic data with your hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they want a lot, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
This is Dr. Bill with Inside HBCU Sports Lab. We have Professor Bishop, Professor Washington, and Professor Edmond, the visiting professor, in the building. As we get into the major division, then we'll sneak into some of these championship games and give you a breakdown of what's to come this week. With that being said, shout out to T. Foster, anniversary follow. I know he knows that I'm not the only poster person. I like it though. He said he was just kidding when he said he agreed with the poll. He said he census of one. Talking about the posters. There's actually 10 voters in the mid-major and 13 voters in the major division. So let's get into it. Dropping out this week, Southern Jaguars, 4-5 on the season after tough losses along with Delaware State. Hornets, as they also had a loss that went down to the wire, that Thursday night game against Morgan State as we ended the show that was just getting kicked off. Shout out to the Morgan State Bears getting off the skid. Shout out to Bethune-Cookman Wildcats getting out to the skids. We'll push Charles Edmond on that a little bit, but we had to find a way to sneak it out there. At number 10, Hampton Pirates, 4-5, 2-3 on the season. They found a way to sneak in the poll more about what people didn't do versus what they did. They did bounce back and get a win conference last week. They are ranked number 13 as they were not ranked last week. At number 9, you have North Carolina Central Eagles, 4-5, 2-1, 17 points not ranked. They jump in the poll after a huge upset for many people against Norfolk State, making their statement as they continue to get it done. That's 2 major upsets on the year. They did have that tough loss to Valley, but people are seeing that Valley is not what Mike says. Valley, maybe not. At number 7, Tennessee State Tigers are at number 7. But before I get there, we have number 8, the team that we're talking about, Alcorn State. Grades 5-4, 4-2. They fall 2 spots after a tough road loss to Bethune-Cookman that was previously winless. At number 7, you have Tennessee State Tigers, 5-4, 3-2, 44 points. They moved down 2 spots from number 5, falling out the top 5 after they just got in there last week. At number 6, Norfolk State Spartans, after a 6-game win streak, they fall out of the top 5 after being in there a couple of weeks from number 4 spots. So they fall 2 spots, closing out the bottom 5 team. Top 5 programs. Let's look at it. At number 5, South Carolina State Bulldogs, 5-4, 4-0 in the conference race. After we thought they were dead and buried, they have come back and now in the driver's seat in the MEAC, what a lot of people thought. 62 points, previously ranked 8, number 3. So they at least have a share of the conference championship. Can Norfolk State make it interesting in the last game? They have one more game they got to get through this week, so it should be interesting when you talk about that matchup. And number 4, Alabama A&M Bulldogs. After a 3-game losing streak, they've won 2 in a row. They're 5-3, 3-3. Seems like they somehow have righted the ship. 73 points. They move up 3 spots. At number 3, these 3 teams just stand alone and do it at the top. That's number 3, Florida A&M Rattlers, 7-2, 5-1, 88 points. Previously ranked 3, as we said. At number 2, Prairie A&M Panthers, 7-1. Come from behind victory. Getting it done in their homecoming game. Hashtag protect your homecoming, much like North Carolina Central did. 6 first-place votes, 108 points. Remaining at number 2. Number 1 is Jackson State Tigers for the 6th straight week. They are holding on to their number 1 spot, 8-1, 6-0, 7 first-place votes, 114 points. They are getting it done. That's what we got for the top 5, top 10 poll rankings this week. Let me go to Professor Bishop first. What do you think of the top 10 major division rankings for week number 10?
I think you touched on it. I mean, I think those 3 teams at the top, they stand out apart from everybody. Jackson State, Florida A&M, and Prairie View, or I should say Jackson State, Prairie View, and Florida A&M. They just kind of separate themselves from the pack. But I want to give a shout out to the teams that won and were previously hadn't won a game this season. Bethune-Cookman, we know how difficult it is to beat Alcorn, because Alcorn plays with the championship medal, and to get through, a team that feels invincible or a team that has that championship pedigree, that's huge. So I give a lot of credit to Terry Sims and Bethune-Cookman for not playing out the string, but playing to win a ball game. Same thing with St. Augustine as well. They got a huge victory over Shaw. Didn't see that coming. So those were 2 teams that stood out to me. And then Arkansas Pine Bluff. Everything has gone against them this past season. Injuries. For Doc Gamble to get a huge win over Grambling, that was huge. So shout out to those 3 teams in particular.
Yeah, big time, big time. Great breakdown there. Let me go to you, Professor Washington. What are your thoughts on the top 10 poll ranking? Think about this. The top 4 teams out of the SWAC. 3 of those 4 are in the Eastern Division. Charles said, watch out for the East. And then you say 5 of the top 10 are out of the SWAC. Interesting when you think about that makeup. What do you think of the top 10 poll rankings?
Yeah, I will say yes. Kudos to the East. They have their big 3. I guess let me jump back to Tennessee State. I have not been a fan of the Tennessee State program, but they've made progress. Kudos to them. Even though they lost, they are still number 3 in that division. They lost to UT Martin. So they're still number 2 or 3 in a lot of statistics in that category. So when you put Norfolk State above them, I kind of scratched my head at that one. And I wonder why, you wonder if these teams play, who would win that game. So Tennessee State has done a lot of things, but they made some improvements. They played well. They made the top 5 last week. They had a loss, but if there's a such thing as a quality loss, I would give it to them. You can't say anything enough about the poll with the big 3. And the big 3 are all strong defensive teams. I can't say that enough. Defense travels. Defense wins championships, but more importantly, defense wins on the road. So So no issues there. But hats off to Bethune. I echo, they could have cashed it in. But they played hard and won against an Alcorn State team. So hats off to the Bethune-Cookman team as well. So now, but to me, right now, there are two teams that control their own destiny, and that's Jackson State and Prairie View A&M. You wonder if Alcorn got caught looking ahead. You wonder if they weren't prepared. You don't know. So, but there are two teams that control their own destiny, and that's Jackson State and Prairie View. And right now they're on a collision course unless some other team knocks them off that course. So, but your poll, from what your major poll, Doc, is on spot, with the exception of the head scratch. Yeah, with the head scratch of that Tennessee State, I think they can move up 1 or 2 slots.
Over Norfolk State and South Carolina State. Interesting.
Yes.
Professor Edmond, what do you say about the top 10 poll rank?
Well, I'll say this. I mean, if we turn the clock back a few months and look at these teams, you look at the teams at the top, you look at Jackson State, you look at Prairie View, you wonder, man, how far have they come? And then you look at a team like Tennessee State and Eddie George, how far have they come? Dawson Nolan's taking over at Norfolk State, how far have they come? Then you look at then you look at a team like Alcorn, my team, man, how far have they dropped? Then you look at Southern, team that was in the championship game, the two teams 2 years ago, man, how have they dropped? I mean, I think it's a good poll. I think I have absolutely no issues with it. I will say, though, in terms of the top 3, Jackson, Prairie View, FAMU, I kind of get FAMU at 3 because they lost to Jackson State in week 1. But how do you rank Jackson PVU 1, 2? It could be either way. I guess, I don't have a problem with it, but like, what are the factors in ranking Jackson State 1, Prairie View 2? That's what I would like to know, too, because it is razor thin. It's really, really close. And I would just like to know what's the difference in Jackson State 1, PVU 2, as compared to PVU 1 and Jackson State 2. I wonder what was the difference maker.
I think it depends. There's 13 people that vote on it, so I don't want to say it for everybody. But for myself, I think some of the things were about Jackson State just starting up in the polls a little higher than Prairie View. So it's always harder to catch a team if you start above them and they haven't lost per se at that point in time. So I think that's some of it. I think the other part of it is you look at the fact that Jackson State has a win over FAMU, and now FAMU continues to do what they're doing, and they rank 3. So it looks better. You have Jackson State has a win over Alabama A&M that's ranked 4. At least was top 10. So you start looking at the quality of wins against other top 10 teams. Puts Jackson State, even though the poll rankings, some people may just see Prairie View being ranked top 3 in offense and defense, and that's why they gave them the first place votes. Luckily for us, if things play out, that's a matchup that we could see in the championship game. While I certainly think games need to play out and people are going to do what's necessary, it would be fascinating to see if both teams come in undefeated, because we haven't seen that happen in the championship game in terms of the conference. That would be fascinating just to see what that looks like, and then you would get it play out on the field to see ultimately who is 1 or 2 at least for that week in terms of the poll ranking. So I think that's some of it. But
still a lot of football left.
Yep.
Yeah, a lot of football left. And so you got a big matchup this week. We'll get into it. But before we do this, I did want to talk about the championship. The last 15 minutes, we'll talk about that SWAC matchup, which we'll talk about Southern and Jackson. We'll get a chance to talk about that a little bit and those kind of things. So before I do that quickly, and we don't have to spend a great deal of time on this because I think you've kind of hinted to it and said it, but number 1, Bowie State Bulldogs 9-1-7-0 at number 3, Fayetteville State Broncos 8-1-7-0. This is an example of a championship game. Both teams come in undefeated. On paper, it should be a slug out, 1 versus 3 in terms of the poll rankings. Both teams are playing really well. Bowie State has gotten it done the last couple of years. I'll go with you, Mike, in terms of any thoughts that you want to talk about in terms of this matchup.
Where do I start? So, yeah.
Well, remember, we do have to get into the break about 2 minutes. So,
I know, right? I'm trying to harmonize my thoughts. So
right, I know, because you about to do that theory lecture. I was like, no.
I know. I'm gonna consolidate. So if you look at, let me just start with totals and statistics. I'll stay with there. Number 2 in defense, Bowie State, but number 1 in defense, Fayetteville State. But you look at cost comparison of strength of schedule. You look at who's number 2 and 3 in the offense, the 2. So you have the 2 juggernauts in terms of statistics. But I say at the end of the day, Bowie State comes out ahead. If you look at their rushing attack, you look at their quarterback attack, they have a more balanced attack than Fayetteville State. So it should be a slug match at first. I think this game will be closer than matches have been in the past, but I think at the end of the day, Bowie State pulls it out.
Mike, I'm gonna go with you. I want to go with this top 10 matchup also out of the SIAC. Number 2, Albany State Golden Rams, 9-1, 6-0. They versus number 6 Miles Golden Bears, who are 6-4, 4-2. 2 of their losses are to the Eastern Division. They went undefeated in the West, but we obviously see East stronger than the West this year. What are your thoughts, Charles Bishop, in terms of this Albany State Miles Golden Bears matchup?
I just think Albany State is just one of the stronger teams that I've watched this past season. Like I said, if I'm not mistaken, they have 4 out of 5 shutouts this season. They have just been a very dominant team, and I think they are playing, unfortunately, with a heavy heart, and that in some ways might propel them in this game versus Miles. I think, when you have that sort of emotional groundswell within the team in terms of trying to do it for a teammate, I think those are some, intangibles that can take you over the top. I just like this Albany State team. I love the way they play defense. Yeah. We talked a lot about Jack State FAMU, Prairie View in terms of defense, but this Albany State defense has been one of the more dominant defenses, I think, in HBCU football.
Great points, no doubt about it. Let's get into this break, and we'll come back on the other side. We'll get into the major division game of the week. We'll look at the MEAC, we'll look at the SWAC, and then we'll sneak in a couple other games within the SWAC as well and get all of y'all thoughts on that. Let's take this quick break before we get it into the fourth quarter. This last one, let's come back and hit it hard.
From novice to aficionado, find yourself here. High quality cigars plus personal customer service with Slow Burn. Visit our website, www.slowburnwaco.com. Slow Burn is Waco's only mobile cigar lounge featuring a meticulous curated collection of premium cigars. It's more than a mobile lounge. It's an environment and an experience rich in history, luxury, and personality. An elegant extension of any celebration occasion. It's the perfect escape and meeting place, a space where you can relax or enjoy a shared passion. Have Slow Burn plan your next big event, or before you are planning to celebrate your win over your athletic rival, you can shop our collections at www.slowburnwaco.com.
But if they won, keep tab. I'ma do the dab, yeah. Press the analytic data with your hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they wanna lose, yeah, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, yes, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
This is Dr. Ville inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington, Charles Bishop, and Charles Edmond. The professors are in the building. Let's get into the major division. Kind of had some off-the-air talk, so it should be interesting to see. We have Norfolk State traveling to Dover, Delaware. MEAC Saturday game. It is number 6 Norfolk State Spartans 63-201 at Delaware State Hornets 4-5, 1-2. Both teams essentially were upset. Delaware State at Morgan State on the road. Norfolk State at North Carolina Central. Who will bounce back? Spartans need it if they want to make their last game against South Carolina State be the de facto MEAC championship game with a Celebration Bowl bid on the line. Let me go to you, Charles Edmond, as the special guest. What are your thoughts in terms of this matchup between the Spartans and the Hornets?
You know, I'm a big Dawson Odom's fan. And when he left Southern to go to Norfolk State, I was kind of disappointed because I thought he really did a good job there. But we all know all the dynamics that happened with him leaving in Baton Rouge. He's turned that Norfolk State program into something special. Who would have thought this 3 months ago that they would be in the top 10? So I'm riding with Norfolk. He's turned that program around, getting a lot of social media love and a lot of media love. I'm going with Norfolk.
Charles Bishop. Well, let me go to you, Mike. First, before I come back to you, Charles, I want to stay with you after that question, get your thoughts on it. So I'm going to go to you, Mike. Number 6 Spartans against the Hornets. What are your thoughts in terms of this MEAC game of the week?
No, I agree. Dawson Odom is in year 1, and we were talking about that in the break. Year 1, and a lot of people didn't expect Norfolk State to be in the hunt like this. And then you look at Delaware State. You know who they played. They're playing Delaware State, right? Right?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. That same Delaware State. That Delaware State that's lost to Morgan State, you know, okay. That Delaware State that's lost to South Carolina State, that they lost to Merrimack College. I don't even know where Merrimack College is. So, okay, I'm not talking about anything. All I'm talking about is what I'm talking about. Dawson Odom has come in year 1. A lot of people have a lot of confidence in Dawson Odom. He's brought some spirit back into the program. He's like, where's the homecoming, y'all? What's up? And he's got that football team believing, despite their last loss, which was a surpriser to me. It was 2 overtimes, but that's okay. I got to roll. I got to believe. I got to roll with Charles. I'm going Norfolk State in this one all the way.
Charles Bishop, do you got any love for Delaware State? These guys say it won't be a problem for the Spartans. Do you give the Hornets a fighting chance in Delaware State?
I love these 2 hard-nosed coaches, Rod Milstead and Dawson Odom. Check out Rod this past week in terms of his thoughts on the transfer portal. But I'm like Mike on this. How do you drop one to Morgan State? Golly, I was really kind of interested in this matchup, but that took all the juice out of it for me. You gotta go with Sparty. You gotta go to behold the green and gold. Gotta go with Dawson Odom on this.
All right, well, sticking with you, Charles, on this one, SWAC Major Division game of the week is Prairie View and Norman, Mississippi. SWAC, Saturday, 2 o'clock. Number 2, Prairie View A&M Panthers, 7-1, 6-0 at number 8, Alcorn State Braves, 5-4, 4-2. This is a top 10 matchup. What are your thoughts?
I was a little more worried last week with Prairie View against Alabama State because I thought they might have been just looking over the Hornets to get to Alcorn, but I think Prairie View on the road, they'll be locked in, laser focused, and they're not going to be denied their place in the SWAC championship. I look for them to get it done on the road, Norman.
Oh, big one.
Defense travel.
Professor Washington, what do you think?
I can't be objective on that. I can neither confirm nor deny my beliefs on this game. No, seriously, we talked to Coach Dooley a couple of weeks ago, and the question was, is Prairie View looking ahead, past Alabama State, like Charles said? That was my fear. They circled this one in, whether they will care to admit it or not. They're dialed in on this one. They know the end game. They want to play Jackson State, and they don't care if it's in Jackson, Mississippi, but they know that road starts through Alcorn. Alcorn may have gotten caught of looking past Bethune, looking to this game, thinking they can play up. It'll be a great game, but I think both teams will be dialed in. But defense travels, and that Prairie View defense, you can't say enough about it. Oh, by the way, there's a guy by the name of Juwan Pass from Louisville who transferred, who is one of the newcomers of the year. He is connecting. He's dialed in on that offense, but that defense travels. So I got to go roll with Prairie View. It'll be a tightly fought, contested game. I don't think Alcorn's going to take this coming in, rolling over, but it'll be a hard-fought game. But I got to roll with my mighty Panthers on this one. Sorry about that, Charles.
Charles Edmond, what are your thoughts on this matchup? You've seen the Braves up close, the ups and downs this season. What are your thoughts in terms of this matchup?
Not so fast, my friends.
That's fair. That's fair.
You do realize we won 6 division titles in a row, and if the Panthers win this game, they're going to hoist that trophy at Jack Spinks Marino Castle Stadium.
Yeah.
Fred McNair and the Braves aren't going to let that happen.
Okay.
I do a show every Monday night. I looked at Fred McNair the whole hour, and you just see a level of focus that I hadn't seen all year. They know what's at stake. It's not under their control. All they can do is win out, and hopefully Panthers drop one to Valley at the end of this month. I think the Braves are going to come out and run the football. I will say, though, that this is the best Prairie View defense I've seen in a while. I mean, Coach Dooley's teams at PVU, they can score 1 million points, but if you give up 1,000,001, you still lose. This defense is the truth. They get after you on the back end, sacks, picks. We're going to have to protect the football, and we're going to have to run the football. I think the Braves being at home, knowing what's at stake, they're going to protect their house, the Spinks jinx. The Braves are going to come out and play their best game of the year by far. Braves will win the game and keep their hopes alive.
Okay. All right.
Big one. Edmond called it. Chad Cooper says, for Thursday's show, can Southern and Alcorn spoil the perfect records for the division leaders? Who has the better chance? That should be a good one for Thursday. I think Charles just answered the one for Alcorn, so I'll give him a chance since he's not on schedule to be back on Thursday. What about Jackson at Southern? Can Southern make that upset? Or do you think Jackson will stay undefeated until they play the Braves in that season finale, the rivalry game? Tell me about both of those matchups before we let you go today.
Well, for Southern Universities, which team's going to show up? Is it going to be the team that played us like heck for 4 quarters 2 weeks ago? Or is it going to be the team that didn't show up against Prairie View in the second half 3 weeks ago? Or is it going to be the team that didn't show up for the last 3 quarters last week? And I've told my buddy Carlos Brown this, when the Jaguars' back is against the wall, they seem to play better. They can't stand prosperity where their backs are against the wall again. And I predicted this. I said this. I think Southern's going to win the game. I really do. I think Southern's going to play their best game of the year because they know if Jackson wins that game, they're going to hoist the Eastern Division trophy on their field. So I don't see that. I think that Southern's going to play the best game of the year. Jackson got some things to work on. Obviously, Coach Sanders hasn't been there the last 3 weeks. We don't know his status for Saturday. And they got some things to work on, clearly. Shadur Sanders has outperformed everyone. In terms, my thing for Jackson State, what they're doing now, I expected this in 2022, but they have exceeded my expectations by far. And so they're going to be tested. Jaguar Nation's going to be rolling, and I think Southern's going to win the game.
Woo!
I'd say this, you make great point. And I think both of the home teams, as you said, will be extremely focused. I think what's unique about the two teams that they are seeing this weekend, I think this is a year that both of those teams will be extremely focused. And what makes it unique, both of those teams have had heartbreaking losses to those teams. So they're going to come in extremely focused and motivated, not just to close out the season. I think it's going to be more about them wanting to bring it in to the losing streak they have against those two teams. And I think they're going to bring a level of road focus that you hadn't quite seen before, that's going to far exceed any of those desires to come for a SWAC championship. I don't think that's going to be on their mind. I think they're going to be focused to the opponents they have against them. And that's what's going to make these two games extremely interesting, because I think they have the ability to be classic matchups, because both teams, and in this case, all four teams, are literally going to come in extremely focused in these matchups just because of what has taken place the last couple of years. With that, they'll do it. We're over the time here. Great dialogue, great conversations. I hope the lab listeners loved it. Great comments, Chad Cooper and the rest of you out there, Fred Whitted, giving you some shout outs. Willie Alex Hine, LaShant Harris, Jesse Bishop, thanks. You fired up. Yeah, it's going to be one of those weekends.
Hey, Mama.
Love to see it coming. T. Foster, great comments. Appreciate
T. Foster,
all the
great
comments. Love. Keep it coming. With that being said, thank you for the listeners to Inside the HBCU Sports Lab. Make sure you share our podcast with your friends and colleagues. I am Dr. Kenyatta Cavil, the Dean of HBCU Sports, coming from inside the lab in the College of HBCU Sports with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Hope you enjoyed all the comments. As we'll say, we'll give Charles and Mike a chance to talk about it on Thursday, about which one of those teams can do it. They gave you an indication. We'll talk a little bit about that Southern Jackson matchup on Thursday. Make sure you're here. And we'll take a deeper dive in more of the SWAC and MEAC games, because we focus on the mid-major. We'll sneak one or two in there for you. But with that being said, again, we thank you for listening to Dr. Cavill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab. Mike Washington, Charles Bishop, every Tuesday and Thursday, as you know, 6 o'clock Central Standard Time. We'll be right back here Thursday, and then we'll have a wrap-up on Sunday. We'll talk about what took place on Saturday. We'll have it bright and early so you can get all the insights and see what you'll think about all the games and how your prediction was right or was it wrong. We look forward to next week as we discuss the latest news in the lab. When I say next week, we talk about next Thursday. Follow me, Dr. Kenyatta Cavil, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. That's DrKenyattaCavil. I believe the pregame show will have something right after this, so check them out. Stay tuned. They give you some updates. You just had an episode drop in regards to the 1876 sports and culture. Make sure you check that out. They got a lot of great interviews, a couple of from the band member, as well as several football players. And then you always got to keep up with Charles Edmond as he does his show with Aaron McNair. Go back if you haven't heard it. As you can tell, he's focused, I'm sure, with some great radio to listen to. Go check that out. Follow me again, Dr. Kenyatta Cavil, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Inside the HBCU Sports Lab on Twitter. That's Facebook or YouTube, Inside the HBCU Sports Lab. Dream big, continue to move forward. Let's check out this quiz. We will talk with you soon. Charles Bishop.
Of course.
Mike Washington.
Lecture.
Charles Edmond. Dismissed. We got
Oh.